Caleb Maupin from the International Action Center. Thank you for joining us. So AP suggests the investigation could have been linked to a story that allegedly gave out details of a CIA operation in Yemen. If that is the case, do you think that this action can be justified on behalf of the administration?
Well, absolutely not. It flies in the face of everything Obama campaigned on about protecting the press, protecting whistleblowers. This is very hypocritical, especially when it's related to Yemen, which is a country that once had a socialist government. The South Yemen was once the Democratic People's Republic of Yemen until it was torn down by the United States, and now drones are killing people in Yemen. So the people of Yemen have the absolute right to resist, and the press has the right to expose it. Just like during the Vietnam War, there was mass exposure of U.S. war crimes in Vietnam, and that helped motivate the anti-war movement. Well, now, the press has the absolute right to expose U.S. war crimes in Yemen.
The Obama administration has been criticized for expanding surveillance in the U.S. Do you think that this incident is part of a trend, or is this a standalone occurrence?
Oh, it's absolutely part of a trend. The rights of U.S. citizens are increasingly under attack. I mean, right now, the National Defense Authorization Act is in effect. Warrantless wiretapping has continued. All the things the Democratic Party lambasted George W. Bush for doing, they are now continuing, and it's a trend in repression. It goes at the same time as the military-industrial complex is being built up in this country. We have 2 million people in prison. As the U.S. economy is collapsing, a huge police state apparatus is being constructed in order to hold back the people as they rise up amidst suffering.
The U.S. has been an advocate for freedom of the press as part of the U.S. Constitution. Does this correlate, though, with what we're hearing from the administration?
Oh, absolutely not. All around the world, all of a sudden the U.S. starts talking about freedom of the press whenever they're trying to bring down and destabilize a government. In Venezuela, they don't like Hugo Chavez because he's defending the people, so all of a sudden they're talking about freedom of the press in Venezuela. But yet in Bahrain, there's a government that is loyal to the U.S. government, that takes orders from Wall Street, and all of a sudden they look the other way while there's brutal suppression. All the talk in the U.S. of freedom of the press is very hypocritical. People have been jailed in the U.S. In the 1920s, the Supreme Court even upheld the jailing of Benjamin Gitlow simply for publishing a newspaper that had a socialist perspective. People have been jailed, reporters have been jailed all throughout the history of the United States, and it's a lot of rhetoric, but it doesn't equal reality.
What are the AP's options here? What do you think the next move could be?
Well, I think this is an act of intimidation against the Associated Press. I think there's a real fear in the halls of power, which include both Democrats and Republicans, that the press might start doing its job and actually speaking truth to power and actually exposing some of the crimes that have been committed. The union campaigns of the early 20s were aided by the fact that the press exposed the horrendous conditions U.S. workers were working under. The civil rights movement was aided by the fact that the press exposed what was happening in the U.S. South and the horrors of Jim Crow apartheid in the United States. And so there's a real fear that the press might start doing its job and showing the truth about what goes on in U.S. society. And they want to threaten and intimidate journalists and keep that from happening. And that's what's behind this.
All right, Caleb Maupin from the International Action Center there.
Thank you.